Hi there, General Math students. In this video, we're going to begin looking at difference equations. Now, it's important to point out that the mathematics is not really anything different to what we've been looking at before in terms of the sequences that we're looking at. In fact, in this video, we're just going to be looking at an arithmetic sequence like this one here. Okay. And it's the same as the type of arithmetic sequences we were looking at earlier. What's different here is the notation. And we can look down here and see some notation, and that's different to the sequence rules we were looking at before. We're going to describe these sequences using difference equations. So it's a bit like, say there was a person who could speak two languages, say English and French. Then you could convey information to them in English, but you could also convey it to them in French, and they'd understand equally as well. And you need to be the same by the end of this unit. You need to be able to understand sequences via sequence rules and also via difference equations. Now, the way difference equations works is pretty simple. What this is saying down here for this sequence is that the first term is 4. Okay, so there's our first term right there, and it's 4. So this bit of notation tells us the first term in the sequence. Now the bit in front here tells us how to get from one term to the next. Tn is our current term, and to get to the next term, we simply add 3 to that. So you can see this sequence, we're going to start at 4. We add 3 to 4 and we get 7. We add 3 to 7, we get 10. We add 3 to 13, 3 to 10, we get 13, and so forth. So the next term would be 16, 19, 22, and onwards, going up in 3s. Pretty simple, really. Just a note that you can also make the first, or give the first term, rather than T1, you can call it T0 as well. And that's going to be useful for examples where we might want to line up the number of terms with, say, the number of years of an investment or something like that. And you'll see why that's convenient later on and get a feel for that. So I'm just going to work through some examples here on using difference equations and show you how they work. So we're asked to write down the first 5 terms of these sequences. So this sequence starts with a 3. Because the first term we're told is 3. Now to get from one term to the next, we need to add 6. So I'm going to go 3 plus 6 gives 9, then 15, 21, and there is 27. So there's the first 5 terms of that sequence. You might want to pause and try the next one on your own, then I'll do it. Okay, so in this one, the first term is 100, so we're going to start with 100. Now, to get to the next term, we subtract 10 now. So we're going to go 90, 80, 70, and then 60 for the 5th term. Okay, now in these next two, we're doing the opposite to that. We're given the sequence and we've got to write down the difference equation. So how do we get from one term to the next in this sequence? Well, we're going to add 4. So to get to Tn plus 1 the next term, we take our current term and add 4. The first term in this sequence is equal to 4. All right, you might want to pause the video now and try the next one on your own, then I'll do it. Okay, so in this one, the first term in the sequence is 19. To get to the next term from the current term, we have to subtract 3. Okay, there we go. Here we're asked, or we're told that the nth term in an arithmetic sequence is given in explicit form by the rule Tn equals 5n take 6. Explicit form, and they'll give this to you sometimes in questions, that just means the sequence rule. So all the types of mathematics up until this point before difference equations used sequence rules. So if they mention that, that's kind of from the first half of this unit, that type of notation. So switching languages in a way. Then we're asked to take this rule. After giving the first 5 terms, we're going to write it as a difference equation. So it's the same sequence. We're just going to present it differently for someone to read. So the first 5 terms of this sequence, okay, we're just going to put n into this. We'll start with n equals 1. 5 by 1 takes 6 is -1. So -1 is the first term in this sequence. When n equals 2, 5 by 2 takes 6 gives 4. When n equals 3, 5 by 3 takes 6 is 9. So you can see we're going up in 5s. So we can continue that on. 14 and then 19. There's the first 5 terms of this sequence, and that will go on and on. Okay, so as a difference equation. So how are we getting from one term to the next? We're taking the current term, Tn, and we are adding 5 to it each time. The first term in this sequence is -1. And there is our difference equation. Done. Okay, everyone. So go ahead and look at the description for the video and try those questions on difference equations.